how my obsession with Minions made my babysitter leave the country. So when I was younger, I was obsessed with Minions to the point where I tried to learn their language. And of course, as a kid does, I couldn't do anything except to yap. So while my babysitter was with me while my parents were at work, that's all I'd talk about because I felt like we were bonding. I saw her giggling, smiling, laughing, so I was like, oh my gosh, she loves this. She loves Minions too. But one day, my opinion of her changed because I realized she was fake. I was looking over her shoulder while she was on her phone, as a kid does, and I see her texting her boyfriend, I hate Minions. This kid won't stop talking about Minions. My heart was broken. So that night, when my parents got back and she went to walk home, I secretly followed her. I snuck through her back door and into her room, and I went under her bed. She came up about 30 minutes later to go to sleep, and I was still under her bed. And as soon as she fell asleep, I started whispering, banana, banana, banana. And she started tossing and turning. I could tell that it was disturbing her. I did it for another about half hour before she started hysterically sobbing, and she ran from her room and slammed the door. So I took this as an opportunity to teach her a lesson. I got her notebook and a pen, and I wrote, leave the country before it's too late, from Bob the Minion. P.S. Banana. And I left it on her pillow. When she came back and saw this on her pillowcase, I heard possibly the loudest scream that could ever have been scrimped ever. As soon as this girl turned 18 about 2 months later, she left the country on her birthday. And I haven't heard from her since. How I helped my friend fake her death to get out of gym class. When I was younger, I really hated gym class, and so did all my friends. And one of my friends started crying one day. She was like, I don't want to do gym. I don't want to. I have asthma. She didn't have asthma either. But one day in the gym locker room, we thought we were geniuses. I told her, I was like, okay, then just fake an asthma attack to get out of gym. Like I said, this girl didn't have asthma, so she had no clue what an asthma attack looked like. She started getting on the floor and convulsing. And I whispered to her, I said, this does not look real. But the gym teacher saw, and she was like, oh my gosh, she's seizing. Guys, help. And they called a stretcher into the school. And an ambulance took her away. And the whole time she was being taken away to the hospital, I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to find out I lied and then I'm going to get sent away again. And I didn't get any updates for the rest of the day. I come back the next day, and apparently she actually had a seizure. Fully tested and everything. I was like, what in the world type manifestation is this to get out of gym class? And I stopped talking to her because I was scared that she was a witch. I swear social anxiety fears some people. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and she is super social. The first day I met this girl, I already knew that her grandma somehow was living without a colon, and that her brother liked harassing dogs, all before we even got each other's names. Which is why we're super good friends, but yesterday she texted me I don't know why some people are scared of me. I was like, I do, but go on. My friend then proceeded to tell me she went to a dog park, no dog, which obviously I'd be a little unnerved if someone did that. But she decided that some of the dogs needed a friend, and she got on all fours and started running around and galloping with them. And then I was like, yeah, of course people would be scared of you, but what happened? She said that she started barking at one of the owners, but the owner crashed out on her. She told me that an old man yelled at her and told her to get up and stop acting dumb. So then she left the park crying, which immediately I felt really bad for her. I was like, oh, she was trying to bond with the dogs. Okay, but if I saw someone running around all fours barking at my dog, I'd probably yell at them too. How my teacher got hospitalized the other day. The past few months I've been taking online classes for college, and it has been nothing but unique. The people in my class are so badly behaved it almost seems like a joke. My chemistry teacher is an old lady that's probably never set foot on the internet. And because of my class being the way it is, that is interesting. So the other day she was lecturing us, and everyone seemed really well behaved. I was taking my notes, all good, and then one of the kids unmutes. And he said, I'm so hungry, I could eat my chemistry teacher right now. My teacher was facing the board away from the camera, and she just turned back so slowly and stared directly into the camera. And we thought that would be the end of it, a little joke. But she started freaking out. She said, why would you say that? And the kid muted again. He didn't respond because he was probably scared. And she just kept asking, why did you do that? Why did you say that? And this woman fainted on our call. Luckily, the crash was loud enough that someone from the room overheard and was able to call the ambulance. I saw this woman being taken out on a stretcher. She ended up being fine. But that kid had caused so much trouble that he was just kicked out. Why, I was deathly afraid of dogs when I was little. So when I was younger, my house had a chihuahua, a small dog. Evil but harmless. One day, for show and tell, this kid says, "Oh, I'm gonna bring in my puppy." I thought that was adorable. I loved puppies. My chihuahua was the size of one. And every day until show and tell on Friday, this kid kept talking up his dog. How cute he was, how exotic he was. I was like, what kind of dog is this? The day before show and tell, this boy came up to me and he told me, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you my dog bites, but it's a secret." I did not like the sound of that. But he said it was a puppy, so probably harmless. The next day, the bell rang, and the kid wasn't there. He didn't even show up to school. He lied to me. No, 10 minutes later, he walks in late with a coyote. A full-grown coyote. And he was able to get away with it by lying to the teacher. He said it was a German Shepherd. I knew it wasn't a German Shepherd because my aunt had one. But it was still cute. I thought it was a mutt. I didn't realize it was a coyote. I went up to pet it, and it bit my hand. Hard. It started making really weird growling noises and I didn't like it. And the next Monday, the kid came in and admitted to me that it was a coyote he found in his yard. How did some teachers expect us to be literal geniuses at the age of 10 years old? I was just thinking about my experience as a 5th grader, and I remembered how we always had to analyze songs. Now that seems easy on its own, but to me it was not. Like one day my teacher had us analyze All About That Bass by Meghan Trainor. And now I think everyone knows the meaning, like body positivity. Girl, I was 10 years old. I didn't even know what that meant. She told us to write in our notebooks what the song meant. You want to know what I wrote? I think Megan likes basses and my dad plays bass, so that's cool. I play violin though. So then our time is up. I close my notebook and she asked the class, "Okay, what does the song mean?" I was about to raise my hand and I'm really happy I didn't. One of the kids in my class, who wasn't very bright, raised his hand and said, "It's about supporting all bodies and loving yourself." And I looked at him like, is he joking? That is so dumb. And she went, "Yes, exactly." And I froze. I couldn't believe what I had just written. So she kept going on. I was like, there's no way, she has to be joking. Like, this song literally says bass, like the instrument, like the big instrument. I didn't understand analogies. So she turns to me, she says, "Hazy, what did you write?" I said, "Oh, the same exact thing that he wrote." I couldn't even erase my notebook answer because it was in pen. She checked it. Next day, she gives it back. She said, "Hazy, why do you lie?" I was embarrassed, okay? How my whole school found out that I wrote emo fan fiction for fun. When I was younger, I was a little bit of a freak. Like, I had the emo haircut, the heavy eyeliner, everything. And one day when I was supposed to be taking a test, I decided I didn't care and I wanted to write fan fiction about 2 very popular people from emo bands. So, I was just writing. I didn't think my teacher would notice. She wasn't very keen. But no, she decides to look around that day and look at what everyone's doing. And she came up to my desk and she ripped my iPad away from me. She said, "Hazy, what's this?" And I told her it was a project for another class. No, it wasn't, but that's embarrassing. And then she started reading it out loud. And this was not a cute little story. This was not something to be reading out loud. And 12-year-old me was like shaking in my boots. And I was bad, but I was kind of a quiet kid, so this was really embarrassing. And my writing was so bad that at one point my teacher actually had to give me back my iPad, and she just told me, "Whatever, finish your writing, I don't care." And then she went back to her desk and cried. Some kids' hyperfixations are so wild. Last year I babysat a little boy and he was so sweet. But this boy was obsessed with rotisserie chicken. Every time I'd go over to babysit him, his parents always requested that I bring a rotisserie chicken for dinner. At first I thought it was just because it was easy and cheap. No, it was not. I quickly realized the extent of this boy's obsession when I went into his bedroom to get his toys and all he had were rotisserie chicken toys. Like a full collection of rotisserie chicken dog toys. But I'm not one to judge. I was obsessed with weird things when I was little. So I brought down his toys and he said, "Okay, now my blanket." I said, "Okay, where's your blanket?" He then guides me to a closet in his house filled with rotisserie chicken accessories. Pillow, blanket, tapestry, comforter, more rotisserie chicken dog toys. So I said, "Wow, you must really like rotisserie chicken." This kid got so mad. He kept going, "No, no, no." So I don't know if this is something his parents forced on him, but he was not happy. How I accidentally filled my school with mustard gas. When I was in elementary school, it was super trendy to make slime. Butter slime, creamy slime, whatever. And I knew I could hustle some money out of some kids by making it and selling it. So I was gonna start this business by making my slime at home, but my mom told me no. So next option was making it at school. I didn't know where to make it though, because we weren't allowed to bring items outside for recess or bring items to lunch. So during our free time, I would go out to my locker and make slime in my locker. I saw these online video tutorials and they just looked really easy. These people were picking up unmarked bottles and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do the same. I still don't know exactly what bottles I grabbed, but I know I did not grab the right ones. But I was eager to start making my slime, so I started mixing it in a bowl in my locker, and that's when it started going wrong. I got called away from my locker, so I didn't even have a chance to really look at the slime before leaving it. And then the school day was over. I was about to walk into school the next morning, and I see caution tape around the front entrance. And I was just like, what happened? Was there a fire? No, the principal and police come up to me and they say, Hazy, we found something in your locker. It was concerning. What was it? You made mustard gas in your locker, and we have to fumigate the entire school before anyone's allowed back in. I said, no, there was no mustard involved, guys. Leave me alone. I didn't get in trouble for that one somehow. Going to the Minecraft movie opening night might have been the worst mistake of my life. When I went to go see the Minecraft movie, I had no clue how busy it would be. I pulled into the parking lot to look for a spot to park in, and people were already parked on the sidewalks, when there were at least 20 open spaces still. So that immediately notified me that this theater would be crash out central. I walk into the theater and the person selling tickets had a creeper hat on and she was crying hysterically. I said, girl, what's wrong? And she told me that someone snuck a chicken into the theater and it was running loose. And that since she was front counter, she was gonna get fired. I said, wow, I'm so sorry, I'll keep an eye out. But scan my tickets, went on my way. So I walk into my theater room and this girl didn't tell me that there were 10 chickens on the loose. I had to parkour in real life. At this point, I don't know if I stepped on one of the chickens. And I love them, but frankly, I didn't care at that point. It was kind of survival of the fittest. I ran to my seat and sat down with my legs up. They had to bring a local farmer in to herd the chickens away. Safe to say, I did not see the movie that night. But I went the next morning and there were a ton of old people, so